All right, hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar, 5 Ways to Master High Volume Support, co-hosted by TalkDesk and Front. My name is Tracy, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. Before we begin, I wanted to review some quick housekeeping items. First, a reminder that the audience is on mute, but you are welcome to use the discussion board at any time. Next, today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be sent out to all registrants later today. Finally, we will be hosting a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Please submit your questions at any time during the discussion, and we'll try our best to get to all of them. So with that, let's get started. Our discussion today will be focused on the concept of high-volume customer support. We'll be reviewing why customer service is more important than ever before, and also going over a few tips and tricks on how to maintain high-quality support through high-volume periods. Along the way, you'll also learn more about how TalkDesk and Front can help. So today, we are fortunate to have with us two experts, Gillian from TalkDesk and Greg from Front. Why don't you two introduce yourselves to the audience?
All right, hi everyone. My name is Gillian Heltai. I'm Vice President of Client Services here at TalkDesk. I manage customer support through our technical support team, our community, and also our customer success organization. For those of you that don't know much about TalkDesk, TalkDesk provides contact center software that helps companies connect seamlessly with their customers and prospects.
Awesome. And hey everyone, my name is Greg Walder, and I head up the customer success team at Front. And similar to Gillian, I oversee our customer success team as well as our support team here at Front. And quick blurb about Front. So Front is a shared inbox for team that brings in all of your communication channels from email to text messages to social, and basically brings everything into one place to allow you to collaborate with your team internally.
Okay, just to set the stage here about why we're even having this conversation and kind of the current market trends, what we see is that the customer communication market is going through a major shift. In the earlier part of the century, there was a lot of momentum around customer communication efficiency. Email was an emerging platform that we could use to connect with our customers, and there was a perception that it was going to be the silver bullet that was going to solve problems of high cost in the customer service space. Looking forward to present day, what we really see is that great companies have learned that real-time communications, rather than email-centric communications, are really table stakes for good customer experience, and that cost efficiency cannot come at the expense of customer satisfaction. Providing high-quality omnichannel customer service is a key differentiator in the space today. Given all of the transitions that have happened and the emergence of multiple channels and just really the evolution in customer expectations and technology, companies now have the ability to truly differentiate their product and their brand through the delivery of exemplary customer service. I'm sure everyone on this call can think of brands that really stand out as companies that are just great at delivering customer service. Those companies have very loyal customers that are walking, talking marketing machines.
And so what we're seeing here with, as Gillian mentioned, with the rise of omni-channel support, the stakes for customer expectations are becoming higher and higher. So what we're seeing here is that 37% of customers expect a response to a support email within an hour, and so people are used to having communication along text lines or social, which happen really fast. They're more real time, and because of this, their expectations are being raised. Same thing, 86% of customers report being put on hold every time they call a business. These are all things that we're trying to decrease here, and 90% will actually turn to a competitor after they do have a negative support experience. So we're trying to do everything we can to make this as a positive experience as possible.
So as I mentioned, the stakes are really high in delivering good customer service experience, and something that I think both of our companies observe is a real challenge associated with delivery of great customer experience as our customers and the companies that we work with are growing. So while customer service companies have, while customer service has been a priority for growth-oriented companies really everywhere, and we see those types of companies coming to work with us on a day-by-day basis, many of these companies fail to account for the effects of that growth on the quality of service that they're able to deliver. Because as you're trying to scale and as you're having more and more calls coming inbound and you're trying to hire very quickly, there is naturally going to be an impact on the quality of service, so you really have to plan ahead for that. As companies grow, they naturally face higher volume of support inquiries. They're often coming through different channels. Customers are expecting to be able to reach you through multiple channels. So then the challenge becomes, how do you maintain a high quality of service and maximize the existing resources you have through these high volume periods? And really this is the driver of our conversation here today. So Greg and I have 5 tips for you to help you optimize your operations. The tips are going to be organized in levels of advancement, kind of think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and they're going to build on each other, starting with the most simple and foundational, and then moving on to the more advanced. So I'll kick it off with level 1. Level 1 is ensure support inquiries are being routed efficiently to increase service levels. So this sounds pretty basic, and it is, because proper routing is a absolutely critical foundation for any customer service team. It really is table stakes. But we see many companies forget about this really foundational step in building a solid customer service experience. We all have those really painful personal anecdotes that highlight the fact that these processes break down for companies, even big companies that invest millions and millions of dollars. It breaks down all the time. I had an experience recently where I called an airline that I had actually never flown before, so I had no status. I was eligible for a refund because of a cancellation. I called in 3 times. The IVR identified me as someone who had an upcoming flight, so it kept routing me to a team of people that couldn't help with refunds because my flight was still upcoming. They would transfer me and the call would drop. So by the 3rd time, I was screaming operator repetitively into the phone and furiously pressing 0 to no result. And then finally, I went online, I found a VIP phone number on a forum, and I called in that way. And it was a terrible experience, and I think we all kind of pick on the airline industry, and a lot of us have those really bad, painful experiences, but juxtapose that with an experience that's great, where you call in and they know who you are, and they've either already resolved your issue, or they're quickly doing it, and they're friendly, and they know what you're calling about. That's really where we all need to be aspiring to go. So, as you think about your own customer experience and what you want people to feel when they dial into your customer support line, I'd urge you to spend some time really thinking about the routing process. Get a pen and paper, map it out, and figure out what it is that you want to achieve. You can't let this be an afterthought, and you also can't outsource this. This is the crux of the experience that your customers are going to have with you when they're calling in or emailing in or chatting in. So it is 100% worth the time and effort that you put in to really make that seamless and well thought out. As you go through this exercise, consider what information you want to route your inquiries based on. Is it language? Is it location? Is it the product that the customer subscribes to? Whether or not they have an open case? Think about what you know about your customers and what your agents need to have to be able to address the inquiries that are coming into them. So there are many ways that you can route calls in the call center space. This is something that I think about on a daily basis. The first is skills-based routing. You can route based on the agent's specialization. This helps with reducing handling time and improving customer experience. Again, thinking back to my example, I should have been routed to someone who could help me solve my problem, and instead they were taking one piece of information and making a really prescriptive decision about who I was going to talk to that wasn't relevant. So skills-based routing is the first. The second is self-service IVR prompts. So for inquiries that don't necessarily need to be handled by an agent, think about all like hours of operation or basic questions that can be answered on a pre-recorded prompt. You can set up self-service for that, and this really helps save the agents from answering simple calls. And then finally, there's transactional IVR, where you can actually prompt the caller to submit information through their dial pad and look up information via the phone. So this could be maybe an order status, account details, username. And again, this both saves agents from answering simple calls, but also empowers the agent upon answering to have a little bit of critical information about that user.
So for written communication and with Front, there's a couple of ways that we have seen our customers break out their routing within the product. So you can see 2 examples here. On the left side, we can route based off of business expertise. So this is sort of what Gillian was mentioning earlier by routing by topic. So we could have a customer write in about a login or a billing issue, and we categorize that as an account issue. So we have a team of people who would be experts on that, and we can route it automatically to the people who know how to answer that question best. Same for product, for features and bugs. Those might go to someone on the success team in order to make sure that they're taking that feedback and then bringing it back to product. Other ways we've seen it is based off of customer segments. So we have a really simple example here just based off of the size of the organization. So initially breaking it out by small to medium businesses and then by enterprise. But then within that, you probably have product experts based off of the different segments within SMB and the different segments within enterprise. So you could have startups or as a kind of a really small segment, or you could have logistics industry. You could have agencies. You could have retail, and you have experts in each of these segments that you want to make sure that the right people are answering those questions there. So this kind of leads into the next step, and with front end, as well as with TalkDesk, you have the ability to automate some of this this routing. So we're going to use the business expertise example here when you break it out between the topic of issue that comes in. So within front, you can build rules that will then allow you to say something like, if a message comes in and contains the word bug, you can either assign it to the maybe the specialist on the team, Joe or Gwen, in this example, who always work on the bugs, or you can automatically move it to a bugs queue where the team can then handle it there. Or another example here is if it's tagged upgrade, we're automatically assign it to Corey because she always handles with those types of issues there. Same thing for if it contains password, we'll assign it to Corey. If it has feature requests, it'll assign to Joe. So being able to automate this workflow that we've already built out in the previous slide here is really important in order to make it as efficient as possible internally. So I already talked a little bit about automation to make things easier. I want to dive a little bit deeper into automation and talk through some of the risks that you have with automation, as well as some of the other potential benefits. So Gillian already mentioned her experience with the airline industry, so we've picked on them again. So we have two examples of emails that are clearly automated in at least in a way. And one is a great experience, and one is a not so great experience. So you can see on the left, these are actually real live inquiries that were written into both of these airlines. And on the left, you see a very automated response. We write in, we ask about changing a fare or canceling a flight, and we get just a completely canned response, nothing personalized, that just tells us, go to the website and here's some general information about fares. Right? That doesn't help me at all if I'm trying to change my flight, if I'm trying to cancel it. I'm left in the same situation as Gillian, where I'm frustrated and I don't have any help. On the right-hand side, though, this is also clearly, in a sense, automation here. They've used a canned response that says, thanks for bringing this to our attention, but instead of bringing in completely, I guess, canned responses here, you have the ability now to say, there is a modification charge of $90 on the website for doing this, and also if you want to change specific flights, here's exactly where you go. So they've now taken maybe 5% of their time to then go in and give you the appropriate information for you to do what you asked, right? So automation is important, but make sure that you leave a little bit of room for personalization, otherwise your customers will know that they're not being looked at. So within front here, well, actually, just in general, we like to think of three main tenets for great support interactions. So the first is we want to make sure that all of our interactions are tailored to a user's technical level. So whether you have a technical product or or not, depending on the type of question and depending on who's writing in, you want to make sure that you're answering in a way that they understand. If somebody asks, why is my app not working, you're not going to tell them what's broken in the code, right? You want to tell them something simple for why it's not working and then how we're going to fix it. The next thing that's important is making sure that it's personalized. So this leads into what we talked about before. Everything should be personalized to the customer. Make sure that you acknowledge that you know who they are. Make sure that you know that maybe they're an admin on an account or not. So make sure that they know that you've taken the time to see who they are. And then lastly, it's important not only to respond quickly, but it's also important to make sure that you resolve quickly. I think there's a difference. So when a support request comes in, it's great to answer everything really fast, and you can say that your response time are less than a minute. But if you're responding with that canned response that we showed earlier, it doesn't help the customer. They're still not happy. Their response time doesn't matter. So making sure that you're completely resolving these questions is really important. So you can see a couple of examples here in front, screenshots that we have here. On the bottom left, we have these canned responses that we talked about here. So these are going to be these canned responses that the companies like JetBlue and Spirit there would have used to be able to populate a canned response in there. So you can see if somebody has a feature request, we've already highlighted the support feature request question there. So that can then populate that canned response, and then you can put in personalization within there. The next section here is personalization. So being able to make sure that you know who you're talking to. So here we actually have our sidebar that shows information about who the customer is. So it's, in our example here, we talked about whether or not they're an admin on the account, if they're a customer or not. That gives you that information there. And then lastly, making sure that you can build out rules to automate a lot of these types of workflows before, and we can touch on that a little bit later.
So Greg highlighted a bunch of really great benefits of automation from the customer perspective. This is also incredibly useful from the agent perspective. We all know that agent employee satisfaction, agent attrition is a major pain point for all of us in this industry, and automations are really a great way to kind of relieve some of the manual work that agents have to do, and also eliminate the opportunity for manual error. So automations are really central to the TalkDesk platform. Our customers use automations to create if-then rules. So a simple example is, if a call begins, then create a record in the CRM. This is super simple, but it reduces after-call work and eliminates the need for the agents to manually input data. So it's a really great win for agents. Their bosses get to show them that they're investing in tools to make their lives easier, and then it also helps with data cleanliness and manual entry errors that can be minimized or entirely eliminated. Again, I offered a really simple example there, but really any sort of if-then statement can be built to better kind of eliminate manual process on the part of the agent, to increase data transparency to management, and also benefit the customer. Keeping teams informed is another really key element of automations, and it's critical for operational efficiency. So what this screenshot is showing you is how we can configure an automation with our integration with Slack to create notifications when waiting queue size reaches a certain size. So in this example, one way automations can help with operational efficiency is by notifying teams when there's a high volume of inquiries. And in this example, customer service teams can use TalkDesk to automatically send notifications via Slack, and then the teams can take real-time action. Okay, so Greg and I have talked so far about routing and automations. The next level is to give your teams easy access to the context that they need to personalize support. So you've routed people appropriately, you're eliminating manual efforts with automations, and now you really want to kind of up-level the service that you're able to deliver and the experience that you're able to deliver by bringing in context. So this is where we really start to get into customer service differentiation. Have you ever called the support line and had someone answer the call already knowing what your need is, or maybe they've already solved it? You know, it happens so rarely still, despite the fact that there's so much technology available today that could empower companies like those of you that have dialed in today to deliver it. It is still so rare that when a customer experiences that sort of an interaction, they get off the phone and they tell their friends. They say, you know, wow, like this company is really amazing. They resolved my pain, and you know that's how you get great word of mouth marketing and great advocacy. So until recently, this type of support was really hard to offer. It was really expensive because of two reasons. Data was highly dispersed, and old-fashioned phone systems operated in a silo. You know, over the last couple of years, though, and with products such as TalkDesk and Front, we can empower companies with the important data at the agent's fingertips. So customers love this for obvious reasons. They feel heard and they feel respected, and the agent is able to kind of address their problem more quickly. And again, thinking about the agent point of view and how do we make their lives better, Agents love it because they get to start the call off on a positive note and drive a higher satisfaction rate on both sides. Forrester put numbers to something that I think we all know in our gut, which is that customer experience drives the bottom line. So here Forrester found that 77% of consumers have chosen, recommended, or paid more for a brand that provides a personalized service or experience. These are the types of data that you take to your management to help justify and create a business case for why investing in the tools to be able to offer personalization is so critical. And you know, it doesn't have to be monumental information that you pass to your agents that can make a difference. I'll give you 2 examples. 1, hi there, how can I help you today? Okay, option 2, hi Greg.
Hi.
I see you called yesterday about the status of your shipment. I'm happy to report that it's scheduled to be delivered today. What else can I help you with? So just having that little piece of information, you know what, maybe that's not what Greg was calling in about, but he feels like he's talking to an organization that understands his needs. His name, her order history, his prior customer service history with the organization, how she felt after the last customer service call. These are all really valuable nuggets of information that can help show the customer that you care about them. TalkDesk exposes these data directly through something that we call CallBar. CallBar is a web extension that allows agents to make and receive phone calls from anywhere on their desktop. It maximizes agent flexibility and fits into their workflow. So it's a small bar that sits on the side of the screen, and that way they can easily navigate into any other systems that they need access to. So when a call comes in, CallBar presents key customer information with a screen pop that opens up a record in the CRM. So we provide the caller's information up front and center so agents don't have to waste time hunting around for this information, and they can pick up the phone and start personalizing the call immediately.
And within Front, there's also a couple of ways that we like to bring that profile enrichment for our customers as well. So if you think about the type of data that your agents would want to have on their customers when they write in, there's a lot of different places that you could get it from. I think one is the CRM record. Next is kind of just general information that you might have internally on this customer there, whether you have your own custom database or not. You can always pull information from there. You might want to know what the last interactions you had with that customer were. You want to have information about whether or not they've purchased something from you, whether they've booked something from you, and what their billing information is, you know, in terms of whether their payments are gone through or not. And then last is just your overall conversation history. Maybe there's context in a prior conversation that someone else within your organization has had with that customer that would be really important to your current conversation with them now. So Front enables this through a number of integrations as well as homegrown plugins that we have within our system. You can see a number of examples here, but when we talk about orders and billing, you have things like Shopify here. When you have CRM, you have things like Salesforce and Base. If you have just general profile enrichment, you can bring in information from Intercom. And so there is a number of different ways that you can bring in that information to give your agents the context they need. So this brings us to the next section here. So we've talked a lot about now having this information for your agents to now provide a better customer experience. But now that you're actually providing a good customer experience, now how do you design a workflow using data in order to make sure that it gets more and more efficient as you go? How do you iterate and improve this workflow as you go? So I think when it comes to customer support, as far as the customer is concerned, all they care about is whether or not their ticket was or their question was resolved. So from the customer side, you can see in the example here, customer submits a request, the client receives, or like we would receive the actual ticket, then we're going to give them an update and we're going to close the ticket if it's done. So customer gets their answer, they're happy, hopefully. However, internally, there's a lot going on. There's an entire workflow that we've just built in order to make sure that the ticket is answered efficiently and all the appropriate parties are involved. So while it might be 3 steps for the customer experience, it might be 9, 10, 11, 12, however many steps it is internally within your organization. So instead of just receiving the request, you now have to figure out where it's going to go. You have to assign it to a certain person on the team. Then you have to work with other people internally and collaborate to figure out how it's actually going to get done. Then you have to wait for an update. Maybe it's a bug. Maybe you're waiting on another team to help you. Then you have to actually change, if it's a bug, you can actually push the fix. Then you have to update the documentation, write the email, then resolve, right? So there's a lot of steps between when the ticket comes to you and when it can be resolved. So it's really important here to take the data that you have with this workflow that you've already built out and use this data to improve the workflow. Everyone can always get better. So what you're seeing here is our Front's analytics platform here that shows you information about all the customer interactions that you have inside Front. So using simple data like, if you see on the left-hand side here, being able to see information the busiest day of the week or the busiest time of the day, our customers use this type of data to help them with resourcing to figure out, all right, well, actually, it looks like early afternoons on Tuesdays are actually the busiest day of the week. We need to make sure we have enough support agents to actually support this volume here. You can see the spikes with the graph in terms of the volumes that you get, and it allows you to make better decisions on staffing. Next thing, everyone always talks about response time, so you're able to then see the response time, also response time per person. So who's performing really well on your team, how quickly are they getting back to their customers, but then that also goes to resolution time. So it's really important to note, as I mentioned earlier in this presentation, the initial response time is not always the only metric you need to be looking at. Resolution time is ultimately what the customer cares about, so the faster you're able to actually get a resolution, the happier the customer will be. So what you can see here is that we've talked about, you probably all have some sort of workflow you've already set up today, but again, it's really important that you're designing the workflow around these key metrics so that those key metrics will be able to improve over time. So what we've done here is we've set up a couple of examples here where you can help make that happen. So in the example here, you have a customer submits a request, and so that auto response that we talked about before that came from the JetBlue example here, you might want to trigger an auto response with some variables for the customer to say like, hi, Greg, we're going to get back to you within 24 hours or whatever it is. So make sure that they know that you've received the question, the ticket, so then you can actually get a response there. Then maybe this issue is actually a bug. So you might actually be able to use a rule where it's an if and then statement. You can build a rule that says if the message comes in and it contains the word bug, you can actually trigger a rule that automatically moves it to our bugs queue. This now enables our support engineers to then go and take a look at those bugs to then start working on a fix. Now, the person who's responding to the customer could then send the customer a timeline for that fix, and then you can now snooze that message. So in Front, we enable you to actually make sure a message, in our mind, disappears for a little while until you know you need to respond to them again. So if you know that there's going to be no fix within 2 days, there's no point having that message clutter up your queue. So you can snooze this message and it'll reopen in 2 days. Once that 2 days comes up and hopefully that fix is done, you can then respond to the message and you can archive it, right? So really it is finding a way to build a workflow that is most efficient for your team internally, but then again, also make sure that your customer gets the issue resolved.
Agents have a tremendous amount of tactical and contextual information at the completion of a call. So capturing and codifying their observations is really a great way to power future analytics and future call flow optimization efforts. At TalkDesk, we encourage our customers to capture call dispositions, which can encompass both topic and outcome. TalkDesk also enables the agent to capture the mood of the customer, which can be used to diagnose problems and then use them as examples for later training. So all of this is a great method for collecting data that can feed into future planning, and managers should revisit these data in order to iterate on current processes. Level 5. So this brings us to level 5. It's the culmination of the efforts already described. Level 5 is integrate your systems and tools to increase agent efficiency and visibility into key data. This is where we connect all of the powerful tools and data in order to deliver a more satisfying and efficient customer service experience. I've seen that companies are growing the stack of tools that they rely on, but it can be really hard to stitch these different tools together. Historically, companies like yours had to pick an all-in-one suite that had all the features bundled together, but it was rarely the best version of any of those features. Present day, you can customize the stack of tools that work best for you, but then you're still facing the challenge of how to connect them. And the cost associated with that lack of integration of tools is very high. Agents can be forced into context switching between tools. Agents have to go through repetitive data entry, which is both annoying for them and brings ample opportunity for errors. And it drives both high frustration for the agents and also the customers who are on the other end of the line who are being forced to wait while the agent gets their information together. The key to maximizing agent efficiency is making sure all of your tools and systems are well integrated. Your tools need to be able to speak to one another. It's important to look for a solution that provides out-of-the-box integration so that you can get started instantly without dedicating valuable time and resources to setting something up. A true platform with APIs and SDKs allows you to further customize integrations with internal tools.
So we've talked a lot about integrations for front in order to bring contextual information from third-party sources. So kind of to recategorize that, bringing in information around your different project management tools or bug tracking tools in order to make sure that you're able to access those. Being able to pull in information from your CRM records to allow your sales teams or your support teams to gain access or update information from those types of tools. But one of the pieces that we didn't talk about is making sure that as we work towards bringing all of your communication into one place and make sure that you're integrating with all the other communication tools you have, bringing all of your external communication channels into single place is what Front is trying to do here. So traditionally, and what Front has worked with in the past, it's email. Next, we started bringing in social, like Facebook and Twitter. These are all written communication that somebody on a support team or a social team would have to manage somewhere. The next thing that we started to bring in is chat tools like Intercom or Smooch. If you have customers on a website chat, again, you probably have the same teams answering those types of questions. So being able to bring that into one place is next. Customers or companies are starting to use text messaging a lot more as a channel for either support or sales or whatever it is. That's kind of the next thing that we ended up bringing in. So we're allowing Twilio numbers to be brought into Front directly from here. And then our newest type of integration, our newest channel that we're bringing in is voice. So partnering with companies like TalkDesk, we're able to now bring in that type of communication and context around all of the type of customer communication that you have to manage it in one place. And as Gillian mentioned, making it flexible so it works with all the best-in-class tools that you're already using and hopefully will be using. So next, I'm going to move into the actual demonstration of the integration that we've built with TalkDesk. So again, the idea here is that if you're using all of your written communication and you're managing all that in one place, hopefully in a solution like Front, the only piece that's missing is how do you integrate into voice. Voice is a huge piece of a support center or a sales center to make sure that all of your communication goes into one place. And so in order to reduce this context switching between applications, we've built this integration here. So I've worked with my colleague Sarah to actually pre-record this demo here, just in order to, again, reduce the switching between tools and the context switching from webinar to in product. So I'm going to click play, and then we'll finish off the presentation after this is done.
First, we're going to open up our Front inbox. Here, you can see all of your enabled channels on the left-hand side: email accounts, SMS numbers, social media accounts, and more. With all of these connected in Front, your team can work together to manage all of your customer messages in one place. Connecting new channels like TalkDesk is easy. Simply go to your Front settings to create a team inbox. You can choose TalkDesk from the list and enter your specific TalkDesk domain to identify your account. Here, we're going to put Front Partner for our own account. Now you can choose which teammates you want to share the TalkDesk channel with. I'm going to go ahead and share with myself, then press Create to connect TalkDesk with Front. Go ahead and copy your channel token here. You'll need that when we open up TalkDesk to finish setting up the integration. Now let's open up TalkDesk where we can see all of our team's call activity here in the main panel. TalkDesk connects with a variety of tools to help support teams streamline how they work, and we're going to choose Front from the list here. Let's paste the channel token that we copied earlier from Front and click Save. Now the connection is live between Front and TalkDesk. One of the most powerful features of this integration is that TalkDesk lets you customize exactly which activities are synced with Front. That's what you see here in this list of triggers like missed calls, new voicemail, or outbound call completed. You can choose which triggers to enable so you only see the activities you care about in Front. For our example, let's enable the missed inbound call trigger. Once this is enabled, if we miss a call from a customer, Front will let us know to follow up with them. TalkDesk populates all of these fields for you, so you just need to turn this on and click Save. You'll see it's been enabled here in this list. So now, let's test this out in front. I'm going to have Sarah give me a call, and I'll decline it so that I miss her call, which should trigger TalkDesk to send us a message. Great. Let's open this up to see the details. This is a new contact for us, so I can easily create a new contact in front. If it were an existing contact, I'd see a name displayed here as well. Just like any other email or message in front, I can work with my team to manage these TalkDesk calls, assigning them to the right teammate, commenting on them, or sorting them automatically with roles. With Front and TalkDesk connected, it's easy to integrate voice into the rest of your support workflow and manage everything in one place.
Okay, great. So just to recap before we move into the Q&A section, I wanted to reiterate the 5 levels that we shared with you. Number 1 is ensure support inquiries are being routed efficiently. Number 2, automate behind the scenes. Number 3, present contextual data to personalize support. Number 4, use data to design and iterate. And then finally, number 5, at the very top, integrate your systems and tools.
Awesome, great. Okay, so thank you both, Gillian and Greg, for sharing your insights today. We received quite a few questions during the discussion, so at this point I'd like to begin the Q&A portion of our webinar now. So for those of you in the audience who haven't had a chance to submit questions yet, feel free to send them in now and we'll try our best to get to all of them. Okay, so first question, I guess either of you can answer this. Do I need a particular account or any special permissions to set up the TalkDesk and Front integration?
So basically, all you need with a Front or TalkDesk is a Front or a TalkDesk account. So it's really as simple as that. On the Front side, basically you have to make sure that you have at least our premium plan or above to allow for integrations. But as far as it goes from the Front side, that's all you need.
Awesome. And then we have another one here. I guess this is for Front. Would you recommend automating routing for conversations based on tags, or moving them to a mailbox, or assigning them to a team?
So yeah, there's actually that question covers a lot of different ways that you can route. A lot of it depends on how your team is actually organized. So the way that I like to think about routing within your organization should be based off of how your actual teams are organized. So if you do have specialists that break out, who maybe, for example, with us, we have specialists who work specifically with our mobile app. So when we have bugs that come in about mobile, we'll route based off of that. And one of your examples was tags. So what we'll do in that scenario is we'll build a rule that says when you have an inbound message relating to mobile, so it maybe contains the words mobile, maybe it contains the words iOS, Android, whatever that is, we will automatically tag it with mobile. But then we'll also route it and move it to our mobile support folder, so that our mobile support team can actually handle that message there. So it's actually a combination, a lot of the examples that you brought up.
Awesome. Okay, and then next question for both, I guess. Would you recommend agents handling multiple channels, or specializing your agents to only handle one specific channel?
I can take this one. I think it is fine to have an agent working across multiple channels, as long as you're not also asking them to work across a variety of topics. I think that there has to be a certain element of specialization, so that if you can have your agents specialize on a given category of response, they can seamlessly work across different channels if you've got the right tools to be able to do it. I think where things kind of fall apart is if you're asking them to work across multiple channels and you're asking them to be a huge generalist and be able to kind of answer questions on any topic. That really only works when you've got a couple of agents and your company is really small. As you get bigger, you're just not going to be able to maintain that from a training perspective.
Okay, and then let's see, another question here that we got is, how can you use analytics to understand when you need to add more support staff?
I'll take this one just because we covered some of it in the webinar as well. But basically, using at least the Front Analytics platform, we actually show the busiest time of the day or busiest time of week, right? So the way we actually did it internally at Front, we changed our support flow drastically actually throughout the couple of years that I've been at the company, and being able to see when we're getting the majority of our messages helps us make sure that we have the right people there. So front is actually, we have 2,000 customers across the world. While our offices are in the United States, we don't necessarily have people who are overseas answering support on a day-to-day basis. And so that was always something that we were monitoring to make sure that our support for our overseas customers was not bad. And so as the support volume began to pick up overseas, we actually started working on solutions to help us with support for our overseas customers to help reduce that response time. So we kind of used a combination of the busiest day of the week, busiest time of the day, and the message volumes, as well as the response times, and then kind of filtering by the response times for after-hour support for us, which implies it's overseas support.
One thing to add here is obviously the collection of data to be able to use in forecasting and justifying additional headcount is critical. But what do you do in the moment when you're facing a staffing problem? Two things that we do at TalkDesk that I wanted to flag are, one, we have TalkDesk Live, which is a platform where the supervisor or administrator can go in and very quickly see how their different ring groups are performing and if they're running into capacity issues. And then the other thing that we do, kind of harping back on that Slack integration example I showed, is depending on the skill set of your organization, you can have people that are kind of on backup, where if things get really out of control and the queue size gets really high, you can send out a Slack notification and pull in people who maybe are typically staffed on email support or are, maybe CSMs, if you need to kind of get into an all-hands-on-deck situation.
Awesome. Okay, next question is for both of you. It's more of like an operational question. So how does billing work for TalkDesk and Front individually? Is it like per license, per annual, or is it monthly?
Mm-hmm.
How does that work? And is there any special cost for the TalkDesk or Front integration?
So I'll start. So TalkDesk is priced on both license and the actual cost of minutes, and we're on traditionally annual contracts.
And for Front, we're on a entirely per license base, so the number of users you have on the platform will be the multiplied by the cost of the per user cost. In order for the special version that works for the TalkDesk integration is our premium platform and above. Basically, what premium allows is 4 integrations to happen. So that's all you need with Front.
Great. For Gillian, is it possible to transfer existing phone numbers to TalkDesk?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a relatively seamless process that we go through with most of our customers as they onboard.
And then, let's see. For Greg, is there a way to mark TalkDesk voicemails as resolved within Front?
So I guess the short answer is yes. So the way that Front handles the concept of a resolved ticket or message or whatever, a closed case, while Front is a tool that works for support and is built for support, it is also built for all the rest of the pieces of an organization. So Front doesn't necessarily have the concept of a closed ticket. So Front is an email client that actually works for your support organization, and Front views a closed ticket as an archived message. So basically, once it's no longer in your queue, that's how we view it, as a closed message. Obviously, similar to a closed case or a closed ticket in another traditional support system, if a customer then replies back to your closed case or ticket, it reopens again. So it's the same with Front. An archived message will then just reopen, and you'll be able to then answer them again.
Awesome. All right, and then for both of you, what are some best practices around getting ramped up on TalkDesk and Front in terms of training your agents, and how quickly can that be done?
Sure. So I think it really depends on the TalkDesk side. It really depends on what it is that you're trying to accomplish and the complexity of your existing setup and your existing IVR. We see customers get implemented in a matter of days. I would say the most important thing to remember is the very first thing that we started off with in this presentation is when I'm getting a customer onboarded, it is absolutely critical that you're able to spend some time on your own and with me and my team thinking about what it is that you want that experience to be, because having that all mapped out up front is really the key to success. As far as training, thankfully TalkDesk is a very simple and intuitive tool to use. We have a ton of training materials online through TalkDesk Academy. that there's no anyone can go look at those. You guys can check it out at TalkDesk Academy, and then we can also do one-on-one trainings with administrators and supervisors as needed.
And then from the front side, it's really similar to what Gillian said. For front, the integration itself is actually, as you saw from the video there, is really easy to actually set up. And at that point, it is really about the process that you want to build internally for your team to handle them. Since the integration that we have with TalkDesk is around things like notifications around missed calls or whether it's voicemails, the question is, what do you want to do with that? Do you want your team to then follow up and call back your people who you missed calls from? Do you want your team to manage your voicemails like an inbound ticket? And how do you want to route those, right? So it is, again, based off of how you want your teams to be organized internally, and then we can build a workflow around that. And then same thing, we have webinars, customer success managers, and our support team can help you all with that as well.
Cool. And then one more question here. I guess this is more for Greg, but I'm sure, Gillian, you can also talk about this a little bit. So this person's company is very heavy on chat. How easy is proper routing with chat? And then for TalkDesk, do we offer any chat integrations with chat tools?
Yeah. So with front, routing with chat is actually going to be the same as routing with anything else. So it's going to routing through front is all handled through the rules, and similar to how TalkDesk does some of the routing, it is a series of if and then statements. So with chat, and our chat partners right now are through Smooch or through Intercom. Each of the visitors who come to the chat page, if they're logged into and they put information about who they are, you're able to then have a unique identifier on who these customers are. So then you can assign it to their contact record and then route based off of that. Other than that, you can have different chat channels for different things. So Front, for example, has a chat channel for our sales team. So our sales team then manages the sales chat channel, but then our support team manages our support chat channel. So we actually route our support chat directly into our main support queue for our support team to handle there. But then our sales team chat goes directly to our sales queue for our sales team to handle there.
Got it. And from the TalkDesk side, we do have a number of integrations with chat providers. Slack is one, Intercom is another. They're all listed on our website. The other thing that I should mention is that we recently launched App Connect, which is a application marketplace through TalkDesk, which allows for our customers to install new partners to try out with one click. With free trials and pay-as-you-go model. So it's a really easy, kind of seamless way to try out new partners, and App Connect is another great place to look for solutions in this space.
Awesome. All right, and then we have time for one more question. So for both of you guys, just general advice for a dispersed or a work from home like agent base. Do you guys have any recommendations for maintaining that high quality support with that type of workforce?
Yeah, I mean, like a ton of anecdotes from customers of ours that do this incredibly well. I mean, and first just to say, like that's the reason why cloud software is so important, because it's really the only method for being able to work with across disparate locations and spin up new agents really quickly. I think anecdotally, things that I've seen work really well is creating a sense of community among those users, and you do that by exposing data and showing them how they're performing as a group, and then also leveraging different tools to foster communication. So again, like we've got a strong integration with Slack. We see a lot of customers kind of build Slack groups, Slack channels that can be used to create kind of like almost create the sense that everyone is in the room together.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. So thank you both, Gillian and Greg, for being with us today and sharing your insights. If there are any questions regarding TalkDesk or Front, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at our respective email addresses. They're on screen there, sales@talkdesk.com and team@frontapp.com. So again, a reminder, the webinar was recorded, and all the registrants will be receiving the recording today. So thank you, everyone, and see you next time.